welcome everybody to the April 18th meeting of the Raleigh Parks, Recreation, and Greenway Advisory Board. And we have a fairly light agenda tonight, so we won't be as long as we were the last time, which is good. And so the first question I have is, do we have any public comment? And if so, if anyone wants to come to the microphone, they are welcome to come. So no public comment. And then the next thing, as usual, is the Raleigh Youth Council, and we have the Evans sisters.
Hello, my name is London Evans. I'm chair of the Raleigh Youth Council. So for our past conference last weekend, 14 of our members traveled to Lake Norman, North Carolina for the 2024 Spring Convention. We went to the Whitewater Center, elected the 2024-2025 SYC Executive Board, and recognized councils for their hard work this year. So our council actually won the awards for the most creative, innovative council project and second place for the scrapbook awards, and these are the plaques we got. And then for the scrapbook, it was basically just for us to recognize the hard work we have done during the past year. And then for our upcoming community service, next Saturday we will volunteer with Miracle League. So Miracle League is an organization that allows people with special needs and disabilities to play baseball with the help of volunteers. So the goal is for us to have 15 members to go and help volunteer.
Great. And is that over by Adams Elementary? Is that where the field is?
Yes, it is.
So hi, my name is Paris, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Raleigh Youth Council. So at our next meeting on Monday, April 22nd, we will host our elections for the 2024-2025 school year. We have 8 executive board positions, which are the chair, vice chair, secretary, community service chair, recreation chair, historian, and publicity chair, and sergeant at arms. And we are so excited to introduce our new vice chair and chair at our next board meeting. And that's it.
Great, thank you. And so will you remind us what years in high school you all each are?
We are seniors.
That's what I thought. And so do you know where you'll be going next year?
I'm thinking of either North Carolina State University or Guilford.
Wow.
And I'm thinking of Spelman College or Queen's University of Charlotte.
Wow. Well, I think around this table you would find strong advocates for all 4 of those schools. So you can't go wrong. You've got great choices, and we'll wish you well at the next meeting when you introduce your new board. So thank you very much. All right. The next thing on our agenda is information related to the Lake Johnson pool expansion and partnership opportunity.
All right. Good evening. Ken Hissler, Assistant Director over the Recreation Division. We've met a few times, so I'm just not sure like the formality of the introduction. So anyway, I'm here tonight to give you an update on a partnership project that we've been working on with an organization called Wolfpack Elite. Please have with me in the audience is Mary Holloway. She's, I'm going to say, principal of that organization, president of the organization. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of a timeline, share with you some of the concepts that we've been discussing, and also that we've been really kind of aligning this with a private-public partnership process that we want to align this that's been coming out of the city, really to work through these efforts as we engage in different conversations. Ultimately, the opportunity is to invest in the Lake Johnson pool for an opportunity that has a benefit to both our organization and to Wolfpack Elite. So just to kind of get into it, I want to talk a little bit about Wolfpack Elite, and Mary's going to help correct me if I'm wrong. It really is an opportunity for postgraduate swimmers that are really competing at a level that's kind of a higher level. So they're looking for training opportunity. It does have some connections to NC State University, but it's really some higher level swimmers looking for opportunities for some training space. And currently in Raleigh, for most of you know that we're the primary, we being Raleigh Parks, are the primary providers of water for our high school teams, for local swim lessons, for the third-party user groups to actually practice and prepare. And so this year being Olympic year, we're actually dealing with quite a bit as we will also navigate some renovations to our space as we get through Olympic trials and those type of things. One of the other things we have is very few what we would call the 50-meter pools. So that would be the long lanes that we have. And the only places we can accommodate that now are at Pullen Park and also at Optimus Park. And we convert the pool over the year between the 25-yard and the 50-meter to be able to support both levels of competitive swimming. So what Wolfpack Elite has come to us with an opportunity, and if you might recall, I'm going to take you a little bit of a walk down memory lane, but before I get through, I want to walk through these steps as the project introduction, how we got here, what's the public benefit, what the renovation will consist of, what are those next steps, and then, of course, I will always leave time for you guys to ask Mary and I questions. So this conversation started in 2022. For some of you who may have been on the board at that time, you may recall that I had a few challenges hiring lifeguards. And this was something that came out of some direction from City Council, was to seek opportunities such as these as to where we could work in partnership with other organizations to maximize the use of our pool spaces. And this is when Mary approached us and said, hey, are you open to some conversation? And just like every good partnership, it says, hey, are you open to some conversation and what this might be able to look like? Sorry? And so in that summer, we worked back and forth with some ideas and some concepts, and we really started to get into some real investment in the winter of 2023, where got a first draft proposal. I will tell you, I have used her proposal with many other partners that have presented. I'd be like, this is what it looks like, and it clearly outlined the goals, the benefits for the organization, also for the City of Raleigh, what they were going to invest in the project, and also what they were asking from the City of Raleigh. Again, falling well in line with, as we look through some processes being developed internally, it's really what I consider, what is the you do, we do, as we get into each of these relationships. So since then, there's been a series of iterations, a series of proposals that have come back. We've negotiated back and forth on some things. Everything's still very much in draft proposal form. We are working to finalize that. So from there, we started beginning some conversations. We did inform Council Member Harrison in February of what was being considered the district. We've attended the District D Neighborhood Association earlier this winter. And then most recently, we're at the West CAC meeting. And then tonight, I'm here with all of you to give you an update on what's happening again, trying to align with some best practices that we have. So what is the benefit? The pool was built in 1984. For those of you that have been around Raleigh for a while, all of our seasonal pools were kind of built around 1984. We did a seasonal pool study years ago, and there was the need to invest in them. We did some work through the 16 bond. I want to make sure, I'll ask Stephen would remember that better than me. 14, thank you. Where we were to invest, and we did some work at both Biltmore and Ridge, were some of our initial investments, and then Lake Johnson and Longview, sorry, were the next two to come up. So that's why this one makes a lot of sense. So built in 1984, we've done some things, but the shell was starting to get dated, the bathhouse a little bit dated. So what they proposed is we would love to come in and provide a renovation that they will fund, and as you'll see at the bottom there, they're looking at up to a $5 million investment in the pool infrastructure. And so, but what that can, and for us, the key when we get into these conversations is what is the public benefit that comes out of this? So currently it's essentially a 3-month pool that's open from Memorial Day to Labor Day. Operating hours are roughly 10 to 7, Monday through Friday, and Saturday, Monday through Saturday, and then Sunday 1 to 6. We would offer some lap swimming a little bit earlier on days to be able to do that. Just for historical context, when Pullen Park was down for some longer renovations, we did shift some earlier lane swimming in here during the summer when we opened up to offset some of that use. So when we met with the group, the goal was to how do we still have that public access during the traditional operating hours, but then also allow what they would get would be exclusive use of the pool. And so what we have here is we would still maintain our traditional hours, as you see on this slide, but it also identifies when Wolfpack Elite would have training. That would be their exclusive use of training. I'm going to go again back to what City Council asked us to look like in 22. This would not be a time where the city would be required to guard the pool. They would be responsible for those operations. We would give them access to come in and out of the pool during that period of time. So it's not something where the staff is taking on an additional cost burden to be able to provide that access for them. They would be responsible for that per an agreement that we're working on at this time. We would still have the ability to run the pool during the traditional operating hours that we would during the summer. The added benefit of this is we're looking to turn it into a year-round pool. So that involves bringing in heat. So while right now we have a 3-month operation, we would go to a year-round operation. And as Mary has informed me, swimmers are okay swimming in December. Not my thing, but they are okay doing it because the water's warm, the air is not, but they still have ways to deal with that. And we are finding this is in fact true when we look at our other third-party organizations that have taken over a lot of neighborhood pools, and they'll bring in temporary heat to be able to do that, to be able to provide more pool space. The other key to this is when they evaluated, they brought in their folks to evaluate our existing almost 40-year-old pool shell. They're like, it's really not worth a substantial investment in its current state. So if they were going to make a significant investment in the pool, their recommendation was your pool shell really needs to be replaced. And so they brought the idea forward and said, instead of just taking your existing box, what I call the box of water, what if we turned your 25-yard into a 50-meter? And what that would mean would be like taking the whole property that exists now, it would still sit on the same space that's inside the fence, if you're familiar with Lake Johnson, and would turn it into a 50-meter pool. And as you can see here, these are just some concepts. So I don't want everybody to go, oh my gosh, that's the pool. These are some concepts, but as you can see, you would have 50-meter one way, but you would also still have 25-yard in the opposite direction. And so it still provides some of those traditional lap swimming opportunities that we now have at Lake Johnson, but it also offers the addition of having 50-meter. It would be the only outdoor 50-meter pool we would have in our inventory of facilities. So with that, we would convert the 25-yard to 50 meters. I talked about lanes for both lengths. Key to what we have now is I'm just going to let you know that if we do this, there is an old wading pool there that would be eliminated, but we created to replace that as a zero-depth entry. If you look in the picture, the top two, actually 3 of the 4 pictures there show that zero-depth entry to be able to come in, again, concept, coming into an area that's 4 feet. It would be extended out because that's one of the first questions we got. That's not a whole lot of 4-foot depth space. We were going to extend that out more like 5 or 6 lanes into that area to give you more space. Is one of the early things Mary and I talked about that. Also in this, the city's going to put some skin in the game in terms of investing in our bathhouse. So it's outdated too. So Stephen, actually I'm going to say led by Stephen, we had a tour over the winter and we went and evaluated the space and what needs to be done. If we're going to invest in the outdoor, then we got to invest in the indoor as well. So we've started that process of looking at that. What is the other one is working to bring gas heat in to be able to heat the water. I will say working with Dominion Energy, we're looking at really positive opportunities to be able to do that, knowing that there would be a long-term use of gas at the pool. So that's what we have there. Now, the partnership, as I've talked a little bit about, the new pool construction, is what Wolfpack Elite is like. We will do that. We are targeting that as a I'm not targeting, they're doing some initial concept design work, looking at about a $5 million investment, privately funded. The city of Raleigh would take on that bathhouse work, site improvement. We would still staff and manage the pool outside of the time when they were there. So as we get into the year-round operation, we can still do lessons. We can still do lap swimming. We can use it for revenue-generating opportunities by letting some of those third-party groups outside of Wolfpack Elite come in and swim there as well. Again, it's another body of water that we would have available to the Marlins of Raleigh, to New Wave, to the high schools, if they wanted to swim outside. I'm not saying the high schools would. And then we would, just like we do now, we're responsible for Lake Johnson Pool. We would continue to be responsible for Lake Johnson Pool. So we'd have those annual operating costs. Now, so that's kind of the general idea of the steps. Where we are now is with the presentation tonight. We wanted to review this information with you. Our next steps would be to do a project open house where we want to bring more of the community in to have some conversation. Regrettably, as we've had some of the meetings already, there either been a conflict where I haven't been able to attend, Mary hasn't been able to attend, Shasheen's been fantastic of leading some of those conversations. Bring everybody together, let's talk about what's being proposed and how we want to do things and get the feedback from those folks. We do need to bring the gas line in. We are working on an agreement, and the construction is probably 25, 26, completely to the understanding of our partner is a lot of this work, like the pool builder knows how to build the pool. It's the soft cost, the design and the permitting process, and until we actually have a finalized agreement, they're obviously going to be a little conservative in the expenditure of funds until we get to something that we know is a finalized approach. So that's our process as we're looking to move forward. And with that, we will take any questions you may have on what we've been working on.
All right, board members that have questions? Ian?
Does this work? Yeah. So this sounds like a cool project. I was just wondering, what's the usage now in terms of summer users that will be?
Into your mic, please. Sorry, I
terms
know
of
it's really
summer
hard
users
to
that
not
will be,
direct it to the person.
Will be displaced by the limited hours on Wednesday?
So the intention is not to displace anyone. So right now, we would continue to maintain our same operating hours for community use, whereas, and I will go back here, and I have in my notes, just so you guys, I didn't put it on the screen. So our traditional operating hours are, and this is from the summer of 23, we did, lap swimming was at 9 a.m., but it was 10 to 7 Monday through Friday, 10 to 7 on Saturday, 1 to 6 on Sunday. That was our recreation swim times. So the only thing that may be compromised in this would be 1 hour of lap swimming on Saturdays. The benefit with having the 50-meter and the 25-yard in a larger pool, I can very easily still have that lap swimming available once we open at 10. The other one we do have is for that 1 hour of operation, we do have other pools that we can direct for people who want to swim at that time. The other one that we see the added benefit of this is I'm actually going to increase my capacity because I'm going to have folks that can use it over 12 months instead of just a 3-month period.
Thank you. I misunderstood the yellow versus blue. And then one other question.
Go ahead.
Climate change is what it is. Can we do electric heat instead of natural gas? That seems like a large lock-in.
So from a capacity-wise, I'm going to just go no, just because in order to provide that much heat through an electric process, really the only sustainable way to do that would be through natural gas. And it looks like
Yeah,
Stephen wants to
I
help
was
me.
going to say it'll be less expensive to do it through natural gas than it would be to do it through electricity. It would be extraordinarily expensive to heat the pool purely on electricity.
Thank you.
All right, other questions? Did you have a question?
Kind of just piggybacking on what Ian was asking, is the intention to reopen the pool from 5:30 to 7 to meet the current operating hours? Didn't you say it's open until 7 right now?
It's open until 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we would still be. So what you have here is their summer hours. They would use it from 6 to 10 in the morning. So at 10 o'clock, they're out. Our public comes back in the winter months. So I think outside of Labor Day and up until Memorial Day, where currently it's closed, they would use it Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. They could use it 3:30 to 5:30. What we would do is then start to build an operating schedule outside of those hours that they would have direct. This is a little bit, for Chris, this is one where we now have a new opportunity. So working with our client base, we want to make sure how we can maximize that opportunity as well. So for instance, if we have a third-party swim group that comes in, we've got these hours outside of those that are dedicated for Wolfpack Elite. Would those be of interest to you, either through a rental process? The other one that we always want to do is what's the public access? So we, even as we deal with all of our pools, recreational lap swim comes priority. So our programs and services always come first before third-party groups. The difference here is as a partner, we would build their time into our schedule, and then we would develop our programs after that. Next step would be third-party users.
Okay.
So long story, yes, but I can't tell you specifically what that operating schedule would look like right now.
Yeah, Kate, did you have a question?
Yeah, sounds like it works. So it does sound like a great project. I just wanted to continue on the conversation about climate change issues. Is there any way to, or is there any plan for keeping the heat from escaping from the water during the nighttime or anything like that?
Cover. Tarps.
Tarps, okay.
Yes.
Bubble wrap.
Thank you.
Well, I didn't want to, like, Mary's the expert when it comes to pool management. I know we use there's heat covers that are used to be able to retain that heat. And that would still be beneficial to us, especially in the winter, because we don't want to have to essentially reheat the water every day for the swim community committee.
Thank you.
Was any consideration given to solar heating for the water?
I'm going to say yes, but I'm also going to say that from the perspective that we pursued that internally several years ago through looking at solar systems. And again, when it comes to, what's the word that I want? Reliability on a day in and day out basis, it gets a little challenging. So I'll give you an example, not related to pools. I was running a temporary outdoor amenity during the summer or into the winter, and instead of the same exact logic, I was like, I'm going to get a solar-powered light out there to be able to run it. That worked great when the sun came out. What I found was on those days where I didn't have enough sunlight to recharge the battery, I didn't have long enough use to be able to just sustain play on an outdoor hardcourt surface. So in order to have the consistency that they would need from a training regimen, both for the Wolfpack Elite and also for our programming, we've got to have some consistency and some guarantees that we're going to be able to heat that on a regular basis.
Yeah, I ask that because reliability in the long term is normally a combination of
Sure.
capacities in order to make things
Yeah.
work. Not that you would only have solar and gas, I guess, is forever,
Combination.
but a combination might be the most productive and economical.
It's a
We can
great
certainly-
point, Bob. And I would say in all of our facilities, we'll look to that as it's not an or, it could be an and.
Yeah.
And as the technology progresses, I would love for our community centers and others to have those redundancies and pull down the gas cost or the electricity cost.
Kara, did you have your hand up? Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was late, so you might have addressed this, but does any of that 5 million, the financial investment, go towards staffing?
No, the 5 million is for infrastructure. That's to basically convert the existing pool into the new operation.
And related to that, what are your estimated costs for renovating the bathhouse? And is there any other cost to the city tied to the replacement of the swimming pool? Because I assume it's just totally, the old pool is gone and then it's a brand new pool.
It's a brand new pool. So great question. So we projected, so this is completely projected. We've done some initial concept studies. I'm around 400,000 when it comes to looking at the bathhouse. So that's bathhouse, perimeter fencing, roofing, and like that's not just making the bathrooms look pretty, that's roofing, that's sidewalk, that's looking at the whole site really to complement the investment that our partner would make in that. The other one is we would obviously have a little bit of an extended operating hours cost. So we're looking at what the staffing impacts on that are, because I'm going from, again, a 3-month operation to a 12-month operation. So to Chris's question, as we look operationally, the part, and I don't want to get into too much how the sausage is made, but when it comes to classes, there's cost recovery models that we set up in there that I can generate revenue to offset my expense. So there is expense in staffing the facility to be able to do that. And what we have agreed to is we would pay the gas bill.
And so related to the question of the cost of the actual pool, they can build a $5 million, for $5 million, a new 50-meter pool can be built without further cost to the city.
Yes. I
And
just
that
didn't
would
want
be
you
in
to
the
just hear it from me.
Yeah.
This is one of the
No,
reasons
it's a great point.
Yeah.
And to Kara's, actually, in the next 2 years, we had planned on renovating the bathhouse there. If you've been to, yeah. When I walk through some of our seasonal pool houses, they look like they were built in the 80s, right? Even though we still invest in them.
nice, but-
I know. But we were going to invest about $500,000 into the pool house.
And I assume it will be heated, because
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I
That's
mean,
right.
yeah.
your other bathhouses
Houses
are
are
not.
not.
They're not.
That's correct.
And
Yeah.
it's
It
got
has
a small electric heater in there now.
Nominal,
But it wouldn't have, since we would be bringing in the gas, we're already looking to upfit that system. And so
right.
the other one that I do want to make you know, when you think about the pool, is this also looks at the pool infrastructure, the pump systems, is as Mary and the consultants they're working with, we've done an evaluation of that existing pool infrastructure. Are there things that maybe need to be replaced or expanded in order to deal with the additional capacity?
All right, Ian, and then I have to remind myself to be sure to look this way, because when you're looking at the speaker, you comment. So, but Ian had a question.
I mean, it sounds like you already did a cost analysis for electric versus gas heating. Was there similarly carbon emissions? And also, are we privy to seeing that cost analysis? Because Duke Energy is moving towards cleaner energy.
Yeah, I am not aware of a carbon analysis on any building that we have actually built. besides maybe the lead building ones.
It's a lot of square footage of heated water that's going to be.
Yep.
Any other questions on this side before I turn? Okay, I saw Hugh and then,
Okay. Is there any thought of eventually covering this pool with perhaps an inflatable cover? There are tennis courts that very much resemble this that have had covers put on them.
I will, at this time,
You already answered the question.
at this time, there is not. Now, I will say, as we've worked with Wolfpack Elite, potential shade covering, but in terms of, I've been around a long time, Bob, and just to be perfectly honest, we've covered some pools, and sometimes we have to work through the cost effectiveness, and I'll come back to some of the environmental questions that we're talking about now. Now I'm talking about conditioning a big tent, and that gets to be excessive. So at this time, we're not, and I will tell you, I'm learning through this process because I didn't know that it was as comfortable for folks to swim in the middle of the winter as long as the water was warm. And I found that I was behind the times.
Hugh?
All right. So the design process,
Yes.
that's not finalized, correct?
No.
Okay. And you have to stay within the existing footprint of what's already there, is what you guys are looking at, as far as width and length.
I will tell you, our goal, and I will tell you why, is to stay within the existing footprint of the pool property. And the reason that is that we acquired this property through LWCF funding. And so if we start to, I'm going to say, manipulate space that comes in and out of its current state, like if you turn a space from one thing into another, there's a process that we go through. We're still going through it through this is because it was purchased with land and water conservation funds. So what we have to do is always be able to identify how is the public being accessible to this, and is there any impact on that as we go through the process. So at this point, we're not looking to expand it or expand the footprint.
Okay. The only reason I was asking, because I understand these are just some concepts you've come up with, but like if you have on your open swim days, like you have some that want to the community that want to take advantage of the lap swimming, I guess that'll come down to the capability of doing lane changes where you can have some, because you say you can turn it to where it's still 25 just the lane changes. Will you be able to accommodate that at the same time where you have some that don't want to have the full laps and you have some that want to swim 50 meters?
So I would tell you as a general operating rule, we're either one or the other.
Okay.
So when we go to 50 meter at Optimist, that's a full change. So we will actually announce to the swim community, we're converting Optimist from a 25 to a 50. And that's a different swim group. We usually in the summer, we switch to long course is the simple way we put that. And that's just because that's usually from the swim community. In the winter, we're targeting high schools, third-party competitive groups. We know they want the 25-yard. In the winter, you get a kind of a different, make sure I don't step out of my area here, a different clientele that's using the pool. So where we can convert at Pullen, at Optimist, and create that long course, it gives us the ability to do that.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, what we're prepared to, let me step back into the microphone. What we're prepared to do, if Wolfpack Elite is doing their training and they're running 50 meter, right, we can convert, go to the other end of the pool, keep 3-4 lap swim lanes. Like, I'm going to get myself in trouble here. I'm a YMCA member. And if you go there, there's always a couple lanes that are there for lap swimming.
That's what
even at their recreational pool, right? We do and will do the same thing.
Yeah, that's where I was asking, because previous municipality I was with, that's kind of what they did. And then in the winter months, we hosted all the collegiate teams coming down that trained.
Yep.
So and I understand the cost recovery, and that's the benefit of being year round, because you're going to get the collegiate teams from the up in the colder states that are going to come down, and they're going to take advantage of that.
So if you can, and I hope that I put this picture in here for a reason. So if you see, Hugh, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You got a portion of the pool that's reserved for recreational use, and in the backside, you've got the 25-yard lane lines in. We can create the same thing. We're going to have that extended zero depth entry that's going to come around to the corner to that 4-foot depth that we're going to extend out a little bit further. And then you're going to have the ability, if we want to run more lanes during the day, we can do that, or you can extend that where you got the kids who want to play Marco Polo, and they want to play in a little bit deeper water to be able to do that. The other one we want to be able to make sure, sorry, I keep stepping away from the microphone, is to make sure flip turns. I'm learning about how deep pools need to be to make flip turns as well. So we've got to be able to accommodate that on the far end. So that would be would be our lap swimming lanes.
I have an additional question, and that's related to operational costs and who's going to pay for the heating?
The city has agreed that we would accept the cost for the heating bill.
Okay, and we've estimated that cost and how that'll,
I don't have that number in front of me.
I'm
but
not
yes.
asking for the number.
Yeah,
The number doesn't
so
matter.
this is
but
part of where the process of going through it and, looking at the math of how it works out. And that's a lot of the negotiation. Like when you sit down and look at, is there enough investment from the partner to make this worth the investment from the city? The other part that we have in here, Beverly, is to Stephen's point, we don't have right now, we were going to invest in the bathhouse, but in a future state, I'm trying to say this as correctly as I can, I don't have a plan to be able to invest in this pool. To be able, otherwise it just stays in its kind of current state and keeps doing what it's doing. It's doing just fine, but this is an opportunity because they're looking at bringing such a substantial, the part that the city can bring in to make that work. And that's really part of our negotiation process, to not get into too much detail.
And funding for the bathhouse renovation, is that out of the current bond?
No, it's out of our annual penny for park capital maintenance
Okay.
program. Yeah.
All right, and so I can't.
Yeah,
unsee
Ken has a really big point. Sorry. We have a challenge with our seasonal pools because they were all built in a 3-year period, and they honestly sit for 9 months, so they're the most expensive assets we operate. So this is a way to catalyze and find a partner to say, and it's the pool shells. We fix pumps, we fix pipes. It's the shells that are all going to come into
They've
fruition.
been
at some point.
painted and plastered and sandblasted.
Rashawn?
Just to piggyback off Ken, and it's for Hugh and everybody, with LWCF, that's a federal grant, so that's dealing with the National Park Service, which is why he stated he can't tamper or expand that site with those amenities. If he tampers with any of those amenities within the site, then that causes a conversion process, which will require him and Stephen to reach out to the National Park Service, and then they'll be in grant purgatory. So we don't want that. So all the amenities that's there, they need to keep it as it is, but just renovate them. And it has to be for outdoor recreation in perpetuity forever. So.
Ray, I forgot that was your previous life. I could just have been like, ask Ray.
Yeah, and I knew that because I had to do that in my previous, we did it through through this Florida Community Trust, and we had it on the beach. But it just depends on the benefit. And when I was saying the existing footprint, just, widening the pool so that you can make it more of like a L shape instead of the little corner there.
Yeah, I just want to applaud Wolfpack Elite for coming in and kind of challenging us to the point that you're talking about, Hugh, is instead of just doing this, are you willing to get outside the box but stay in the footprint? And I know that sounds weird to be able to think differently about this approach. And where I do appreciate is where Mary was very receptive when I said, I've got to recognize that this is a community use piece and there's everything from toddlers to elementary school kids who like to use this space. So how can we cohabitate and meet each other's needs? And very quickly, they worked with some of the designers, like, I think we can figure this out to where it can be a win-win for both groups.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of revenue generated in the months that you did not use the
think?
pool. Yeah, you will. Yeah, you will, in the winter months.
All right, any other questions? Do we need to take a vote of approval of this, or is this just for information?
No, you don't, but we'll invite you to the project open house to make sure you hear the community feedback.
Okay. And I do want to remind everybody that with the Olympics coming up, that we have a history of swimming Olympians from Raleigh. And I know that when my kids were young, and I can't remember his name, but he came to Northbrook Pool and brought his silver or gold medal because he was on a relay team, and that's pretty cool. So I hope that that we'll have some opportunity for for some of that kind of seeing kids have successful role models and an outreach that broadens the swimming community too.
If I may, one of the fun things, every time I get in a project like this, like I was never more interested. I mean, don't get me wrong, I watch the Olympics and I watch competitive swimming. Like, who doesn't think Katie Ledecky's awesome, right? But because of the partnership, I was telling Mary in one of our emails, I was like, I couldn't help but watch the ACCs. Like, I'm watching the scores of what's happening over here, and I was like, oh my gosh, State is crushing it in the ACC swimming, and you just become a fan as you go through there. So you're absolutely right to be able to look at the opportunities that come out when you get involved in things like this.
Okay, great. I think that's all. Thank you very much. It's a very exciting opportunity for a whole new kind of use. And I think that we will be challenged to continue to look at how we heat and cool all of our properties. And this is one example of it, but I think that the questions here have
Good ones.
been spot on, and we'll have to continue to look at that.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
All right.
Hey, Beverly, I think we should point out that we have perfect attendance. Everyone is here.
Yes, we do. We will. Kate Pierce, is she here? I don't
You saw a
see her.
bit of a flurry when Ken got to the podium with Adam and I. Kate unfortunately had something come up and could not make it. And if you all know Kate, she does not miss things. So forgiveness on our part. We're offering our apologies that she'll come back next month.
Okay. All right. Well, that. And are there any public meetings associated, other than this coming Tuesday, there is a Dix Park Leadership Meeting, which is a public meeting.
Yes.
And it is held at the chapel on Dix Park, and it is at 9 a.m. And there will be an engineer's presentation on the Rocky Branch
Yes.
Creek options, and there are multiple, what they've done is divide the creek into what they call reaches, which is another word for segments, and then each segment has multiple changes that could happen to it. And so the goal is to do something that's sooner rather than later, but there are a lot of complicating factors with BRT coming through, with what the bridge, whether it's a land bridge or a mixed bridge or a pedestrian bridge coming across, which has always been in the master plan. So if you're interested in that, you are welcome to attend that meeting and see more. And I am sure that Kate would have been bringing us slides about
Absolutely.
that tonight.
Yes.
And are there any other public input meetings about that?
There is not.
But I'm sure there
but-
will be.
Yes, but Bob and Doug are always in attendance. So if you cannot make it and would like some questions asked, they'll
Yeah,
have the ability.
and I'm in attendance.
Of course, and you are a part of the committee. Yes.
And so, and then I'm hoping, related to Dix Park, I was going to ask Kate this question, if we can, by the end of the summer, plan a visit to the Gibson Play Plaza.
Absolutely.
Because it has come out of the ground. You know, construction's been happening for almost a year, but almost all of that construction has been underground and not very sexy. And now it's
Right.
getting. I drove from the farmers market,
Getting vertical.
and there's stuff coming out. And so I think as community liaisons and advocates, it will be really helpful for all of us to have the opportunity to
Yeah.
to get an early look
We
at
can do that, and if there is one sooner with the leadership committee, we'll just invite this whole board
Yeah.
to join the leadership committee.
Great.
Okay.
So that-
Beverly? Along that same line, I believe that the stone houses will be opening before too long also, and I'm sure you'll have the process of notifying people on
That is
preview
correct.
visits and whatever.
Yes, did someone say that? I didn't know if I didn't have the specific dates, but it's pretty soon. I was invited to like an early preview at the end of the month.
Yeah, it's May 20-something.
Okay. We'll send the dates for Tuesday and then the ribbon cutting. So,
Great. That's super. Well, I think it's really important that.
And if you haven't seen the magnificent public artwork that was installed, that is by a world-renowned, DeWitt Godfrey is a renowned public artist, that will also open up, so.
Well, since I was going to make this in my chair remarks, but Earth Day is on Friday, and it is at Dix Park. And if you haven't been to a City of Raleigh Earth Day, it is really a nice event. It is very family friendly, and I assume there'll be some food trucks and things like that there, as there have music and some swag. Stephen knows I'm not a big fan of throwaway swag, but I'm sure it'll be there. Anyway, Marcia, did you have a? Okay. All right. Well, good. Well, we will catch up with Kate at the next meeting. And then, so the next thing is the minutes, approval of the minutes. And there were a lot of very lengthy minutes to read. Word by word transcription. We might, that's an interesting topic and question of whether minutes should be verbatim. Because reviewing the minutes is very difficult, the amount of time to do that. And so it's a damned if we do, damned if we don't situation where we haven't had minutes because they're hard to take.
Yeah, I just asked Giovanna, we'll look into, because there is different levels. We just went with take it verbatim. But noted that they might have gone from 4 pages to 14. So.
Yeah, 14. I think some of them were longer than that. But I heard a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Oh, okay. We're going to approve the minutes from May 18th, 2023. Yeah.
Motion to approve?
Second.
But Giovanna's looking at me with a quizzical look. Oh, okay, I was starting from the bottom, but, okay. January 19th, 2023. I heard a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. February 16th minutes, 2023. Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
March 16th, 2023. May I have a motion to,
Motion to approve.
okay, and a second? A second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. April 20th, 2023. May I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Second, April. And all in favor? Aye. And May 18th, 2023. Motion to approve. Second. All right.
Did we have some additional ones?
There's another June 15th. There's June 15th.
I didn't see that. Okay. So June 15th, 2023. Motion to approve. Second. All in favor? Aye. All right, good. So we're pretty caught up. We're getting there. Yeah. It'll be good. It's interesting to go back and read, and one of the things that I would like to put on a topic for future is the relationship with Raleigh Water. I was reading John Connor's comments about all of the construction. And, I'm sure that the construction team, the contractor, will have people who change over the length of that multi-year project. And so I think it's probably important that we revisit those questions so that the team on the ground stays mindful of the concerns that were raised at this table. So. All right. Committee reports. Oh,
That's me.
Oh, sorry.
But I will keep it brief, Madam Chair.
I'm looking at it on the PDF version. It's a little
No,
difficult.
we're good.
Apologies.
I will keep it brief. If you recall, in a presentation last year, the board highlighted that we only have one digital camp, and it was at Ravenscroft. Through Ken's work, we have expanded one to Workdale in Southeast Raleigh. And doing so, that kicks it into the contract level was so high, the council had to approve it. So they approved it on Tuesday. So kudos to the team to being responsive. This is not in the notes, but we recently found out we're getting an $875,000 grant in partnership with the Trust for Public Land to build a sidewalk connection to Walnut Creek Wetland. If you remember the Bailey Drive project on the Rochester Heights side, that they have to walk around the park to get in the park. So that is a federal grant from the National Park Service, and we're the only one in the state of North Carolina to get it. So, yeah, yes.
And is that with the Public Justice?
People for Parks.
People for Parks.
Yes. Our friends out of the Trust for Public, or the Conservation Fund. I'm sorry, the Conservation Fund, not Trust for Public.
How much was that, Stephen?
$875,000. So, yeah.
So the Conservation Fund applied for the grant.
With us in conjunction. We technically had to apply, but they actually wrote the grant for us, and we submitted it. They have matching funds. We have matching funds. A pavilion, public art, sidewalk, and everything will create a gateway for a community that had to walk around the park to walk into the park. So pretty exciting.
That is very exciting. Thank you.
Kate reached out and wanted me to highlight as a part of the Green Growth Toolbox Initiative, which is a series of improvements the city is proposing to meet related to natives and trees, UDO changes related to how we build, that one of the requests was that the Parks Department to promote the use of more native trees and expand that list, and then to embargo more trees, and we recently did that. So that has been added online for developers to use, so thank you. You talked about Dix Park already. The Bailiwick Multi-Sports Pavilion is open after quite a considerable delay from our contractor, but it is open and being used. I saw someone last night at a police event that they came up and said, thank you for opening they called it the Pickle Dome. And I was like, oh, our multi-sports pavilion, you mean? And she started laughing, so. We did some great renovations, Sergeant Courtney T. Johnson the last few months, new paint, new roofing, so it's a small center in Southeast Raleigh. It looks fabulous. We have planted our first community garden at Barwell Road, which is exciting. Laurel Hills is reopening after a multi-million-dollar renovation. Latta House ribbon cutting is on Saturday, so please put that on your calendar. We talked about Dix Park. Dreamville went off without a hitch, so we had 51,600 people daily. The max capacity was 52,500, so they did not reach capacity. There was 0 arrests within the event. So there was 2 arrests outside of the event, but 0 arrests in the event. Quite the event. This is a really interesting note. One of our field managers is one of only 285 certified field managers in the United States, and they got their license this week. So it just shows you the level of care in which we have, and that includes people who take care of professional stadiums. So amongst that quality. A couple of really cool things that Charles' teams put on here. Our urban forestry staff noticed that we had owls living in a tree that we were about to cut down. So we stopped, put up educational signage, and we'll wait until they leave. So, and the same goes for some honeybees that we found in a large popular tree. So kudos to our natural resource team for being respectful. And 2 zoning cases. One that has been on the docket for a little bit and was in your previous package is 0 Gorman Street, which is Z3523. The Parks Department has requested a connector to the Walnut Creek Greenway Trail. It is a parcel that is along at an area that has some wetlands, so there's a lot of public discussion about the value of doing it. And then one that was highlighted by TJ and Emma is Z7022, which it's in the Lake Ann area along Glenwood, and which the developer would like to donate over an acre of land. We're just determining whether is that land valuable for us to.
So generous.
Yeah, I think it is an area that might be connected to some greenway easements we have. So it would extend kind of our protection. So that is all I have for this evening.
Could I just ask,
Yes.
what's the process by which you all make that decision? Is it internal, about accepting land? Is it totally the park staff, or is there city council, or how does that happen?
It would be city staff recommending to council whether we do it.
Take it.
If the land is protected federally or by the state, we are like, it's protected, so there's no sense for us taking it on. And that's what we get offered a lot. Do you want these wetlands? We would like, nope, we want the uplands, so. We don't get a lot of individuals that offer us land, and especially now value, because people can find a way to build in a lot of cases, so.
Very good. Any other questions of Stephen from the board members?
Stephen, I was at the Barwell, not the planting, but I saw it afterwards, and I was wondering, is the fence around it for animals or for people?
Animals.
Okay.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I have a garden at home, and I have a 5.5 foot fence, and deer still get over my 5.5. I find deer standing in my garden. They have somehow jumped over my 5.5 foot fence.
Sounds good, thank you.
Yeah.
Another question?
Not questions, but, well, it is a question.
Mike.
Thank you, Giovanna. Is the Parks Department putting up signs where spraying has occurred in parks?
We do and I can ask Charles to come down. I know that when we do, we have, I call them sandwich signs, that we warn individuals that we are in the midst of doing it, but he is the in-house expert. Yeah.
He is an expert. Someone talked to me today about her concern about the signs, the no signs when spraying had occurred along Gardner Street, close to J.C. Park. And there's a stream that runs through there, and she talked about people walking their dogs through that area, and she had seen that there had been spraying there. And she mentioned to the park staff that was there that it would be good to have signs, and he said they did put signs up, and she said, I've never seen signs. I walk that stretch every day. I've never seen a sign. So she was just today telling me about this and was concerned if there were signs posted so that people would know if they were walking their dogs that their paws were getting wet from being in pesticides.
All right, well, let's
or insect, yeah.
Let's let Mr. Craig answer that question.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Charles Craig, one of the assistant directors for parks. Okay, so to answer that question, we do put out signage as we are the applicators are required to put out signage when it's taking place. We do not leave a location. We have a spotter as well, so there will be an applicator that's applying the product along with one spotter. That spotter is to make sure that the signage is out and also interact with the public if necessary to answer any questions. We don't leave a location until it is dry. At that point, we collect our signs and we move to the next location.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Charles.
Thank you for
I
that.
have one other question, or a concern, really. I've been past Isabella Cannon Park at night a couple of times recently, and it is stunning to me how brilliantly lit that park is. If we're interested in trying to have a habitat and parks that's beneficial for the non-human creatures, that park lit up like a shopping center, and I would like there to be some investigation to see if that can be dampened and so it's not so well lit.
Well, Before Stephen replies, I'm actually going to let him hold his answer because right now in the agenda, we're on committee reports. And so I'd like to get through the agenda and then raise board member questions at that time. So, yeah, that's, so we'll keep going with the standing committees. So, Parks Committee, did it have an April meeting?
We did, and we had a very busy meeting where we covered a lot of topics. There was an update provided on Kyle Drive Park, or it may be soon known as something else because the Community Advisory Group is considering a name change. They presented a few options, but there may be some additional options presented. There is also a public art call for Kyle Drive. They're working with Kelly McChesney, who works in the arts department for the city. There's also going to be a partnership with, actually this is a non-Kyle Drive update, but a partnership with Schoolhouse of Wonder Summer Camp. It's going to take place, actually that is at Kyle Drive. I guess Ken can keep, it's not. No. Right now it's at Brookhaven, but I thought they were potentially going to expand it to Kyle Drive in the future. That's incorrect? Ken's coming up here.
But it's opportunity for him.
It's not incorrect, it's just not guaranteed. So one of the conversations that we had at the Parks Committee was how do we activate the space through programmatic opportunities? Since it would be an unstaffed space, we've used the example of what Charles and his team has done at Brookhaven. Working with a third-party group, it can provide an outdoor camp experience to be able to do something similar at Kyle Drive. So as we work through the master plan, the process for there, identifying the programmatic use of that space will be a priority as well.
Yep. And there were a bunch of really good concepts that were presented. There's going to be a presentation that comes to the board in May, so I won't try to do justice to what staff will do a much better job presenting. But as Ken said, it's going to be on staff. There's going to be a food force. There might be a boomerang, so stay tuned. And then there's also going to be, there's a survey being done for Neuse River Park, and there's going to be a draft concept review done in May, so we can keep our eyes peeled for that as well. And then the Parks Committee may be doing an on-site visit to Biltmore Hills Park in July. I'll keep everybody posted if you guys want to be able to take a look. That would be for the new tennis courts that would get built there. So it might be July, it might be a different month.
Great, that is good to hear that Parks Committee is meeting and reviewing these things. And I have to say, I love the idea of changing the name of parks that are just named for roads when if the road isn't a terribly significant road and it doesn't really lead somebody someplace, then having a more creative name seems like a more powerful idea.
Agreed. Yeah, and our naming policy is based off of geography or natural features, so that's what they're focused on. Yep.
Yeah, some natural features sound great. Fred Fletcher, Volunteer Committee.
So thank you for your patience with all the emails. But we all have a job to do. So you know what that is. So as you continue to get hot pink notes, I need you to follow those. So if you're having problems contacting your person, just let me or Mary know. And, just write the speech. The young lady that was here for the Raleigh Youth Council is going to be one of so I interviewed her and had a really good time talking to her. And Mary did ask that usually those interviews are done by now, so she can kind of feel good about what's coming up. So you still have a little bit of time. And if you're not sure, we've also resent those sheets out several times, and now she's linked it so you can go back and see what the person who nominated them said. So you can also read that before you talk to the people, which will give you a little bit more background. And again, you have these lovely invitations now. That's what's in the envelope. So that gives you the information on everybody as a nice snapshot. It's your formal invitation. Thank you, Javon. And the event is May 14th. So again, you'll get some more updates. So I won't put you on the spot and ask you, have you talked to your people yet? I'll just know that you'll do it. And so thank you so much for all of your patience.
Well, and I will add that May 14th is before our next meeting, so be sure that you have that on your calendar. And then we meet later that week, I think, on the 16th. And so, so it'll be a busy Parks Board week. But thank you for carrying that forward, and I appreciate your work. Greenway Committee. Oh, sorry, Carol asked a question.
I just wanted to say that if you haven't ever presented at the Fred Fletcher Awards, I think it's better than the Academy Awards. It is so fun and so rewarding, and everybody's just aglow. So even if you don't present or anything, just go. And they have dessert.
I told Beverly that I forgot my notes at home, so I'm kind of winging it from the agenda. We had a relatively brief meeting because we were short a few committee members, but we had a presentation on the Rocky Branch Enhancement Project that Beverly was talking about at Dick's, and saw the slideshow of the 3 options of the 3 segments. We had a presentation from the marketing department of the city on a rollout of the Greenway etiquette program for bicyclists. It's going to come out in May and then again in the fall. And we had a presentation on 8 potential Greenway connection ideas. We decided to wait until our next meeting to make a decision because we were light a few members. So you should be seeing what those ideas are via slides, and be prepared to vote on something next meeting.
Awesome. And for anybody who doesn't know what you're referring to, you want to explain the sort of connect the dots, the purpose of those designs?
So it is the segments of city sidewalk between paved greenway, where a greenway hits city sidewalk and you don't know if you go right or left or straight, and it's breadcrumbs along the city sidewalk to lead you to the next 8-foot asphalt paved section.
I think it's going to be a real game changer for people using our greenways, because right now when you look at the map, it looks like a yellow brick road, like it's all connected, and we all know it's not. But it will be much more connected after that.
And it's something that's going to be implemented in the next 120 days-ish, so it'll
It's
be
like
real.
a quick tactical win. Yep. And once we see that proof of concept, maybe we can deploy it in other locations in parks and greenways. So
awesome. All right. Sustainability, Wildlife, and Urban Trees Committee. You want to report, Marcia?
No, I'm not prepared to make
Oh,
a report.
okay.
I think we turned over the chairship.
Well, yes.
You want to say that?
Oh, yes. I was going to say that with Marcia going off the board, that I have asked Kate to be the new chair of the Sustainability, Wildlife, and Urban Trees Committee. And I'll talk a little bit about, at chair comments, about committees and things, because as we sort of our fiscal year is kind of the city's fiscal year of July 1, and I want to get some input on that. But for now, since Marcia's term ends in May, right? June. Okay, sorry, not trying to push. The transition was made to have Kate be the new chair.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's Doug Johnston mentioned about how much we learn on that committee. There's always an educational topic, and it's such a nice collegial environment, and we have an amazing number of people from the public that come every month. It's so that clearly citizens are interested in sustainability, wildlife, and urban trees.
And we thank you for your leadership on that committee. So thank you very much for creating a really important focus, I think especially urban trees, but sustainability and wildlife issues. So thank you for that.
Marcia, I believe that the next meeting will feature information about the tree of the year, too. Isn't that what they're looking towards?
I have voted. If the rest of you haven't voted for the urban tree of the Raleigh Tree of the Year, go online and do it. The final day is, I think it's announced tomorrow.
So I just wanted to say, first of all, I'm really honored to be the chair of this. Thank you very much. And Marcia, I appreciate your passion and all that I've learned from you. And it's going to be nice to have you there for at least one more meeting as we, I'm hoping you continue to be a citizen attendee, but anyway. Yeah, we had a really great meeting last time. It was a great presentation about the all the new work that's being done to figure out where to prioritize and how to handle invasive plants. And you're right about the tree of the year. There's been this competition, particularly between two trees, back and forth. The leadership goes and then it switches or whatever. So it's been pretty fun. So thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah, I've noticed that all that back and forth is just devastating the betting line on who's going to win. It's everywhere.
Sports betting at its best in North Carolina.
I have a question. Are trees that are considered invasive species eligible for Tree of the Year?
That's a great question. Maybe we may need to refine. We certainly wouldn't want a Bradford pear. So that's a really, I think this is the second or third year we've done, had a Raleigh tree. And I think that the guidelines are getting tightened up every year. And so that'll be, Mr. Craig, did you have something?
Once again, Charles Craig, I just wanted to highlight for the Tree of the Year competition, the goal is to make everyone aware and look up. That's the goal, to look up at the trees, and even if it is an invasive, we will try to educate and teach and train, but to make sure the public is aware. That's the ultimate goal. I believe more people that is aware, that's more people that we can turn into ambassadors to take care of nature. So that's the goal.
Very well put. Thank you. Committee reports, liaisons, the Arts Commission.
No report this month.
All right. I do note that the Raleigh Medal of Arts, I think that was in the director's report. The deadline for nominations is April 30th, but I looked online and could not find when the Medal of Arts award ceremony was. So that probably needs to be on the website. BPAC did not have an April meeting. They are having their retreat on May 3rd. Cemeteries Advisory Board, Mr. Craig.
Hello once again, Charles Craig. I'm here to report out on the Historic Cemetery Advisory Board meeting that took place on April 3rd, 2024. One of the things I would like to highlight, we are working on our work plan. That will be the focus for the next 2 meetings, is to work on our work plan and get it ready for adoption to move forward to City Council. With that being said, I do want to highlight we have some phenomenal staff that work in our historic cemeteries, and we are fully staffed. Yay. That's always huge. So I just want to highlight, if they're listening, please stay with us. That's great. But I also want to touch on, we have some amazing gardeners that focus on horticulture. We have extended our wildflower program throughout Mount Hope Cemetery. It should be beautiful this coming summer. I would challenge everyone to just take a nice walk, peaceful walk, and just bask in the flowers. It should be awesome. That is something new that we are trying as we bring more color to all of our cemeteries, but using Mount Hope as that first location.
Well, Mr. Craig, since you brought that up, my children went to Washington Elementary, which is adjacent to Mount Hope, and so I had the opportunity on several occasions to have a guided tour of the important people who have been laid to rest there. And do we offer public tours of Mount Hope? Maybe I'm just not aware of them. But it would seem to be, especially if they're going to be flowers in bloom, that it would be a great opportunity to have a tour of some of the really significant people that are there.
You know, thank you for making that comment. We have had some excellent partners in the past, but within the city of Raleigh, we have a great program that is hosted by our historic group, led by Troy. Troy's team is pretty phenomenal, and working with them, I would take that feedback to them and see what we can incorporate as soon as we can.
That would be great. Thank you.
Last thing I would like to share, our next meeting will be, when is our next meeting? Next meeting will be April 22nd, which is next Monday. We'll be meeting at the Tucker House at 5:30 p.m. if anyone would like to join us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dick's Leadership Committee, I think I sort of gave that report in the Dick's in lieu of Kate. So other than that, there's the meeting tomorrow. Again, it's at 9 a.m. at the Gregory Poole Chapel. And then there is the Work Plan Ad Hoc Committee. And so that I've asked.
Kate, Ian, Chris and I met for the first time this morning and are trying to work through the outline on that. So not a whole lot to report, but just getting started on it.
That's great. And I want to remind all board members that this is a funnel action. And so things that you want to see on there in that work plan, submit them to Jeff so that can get massaged and worked on in that committee. And if anybody else wants to join them, send Jeff an email. It is an open process there. But be sure that you don't let the year, let the plan get put in place without having that input opportunity. And then we have to vote on the work plan ourselves. So and we can always make adjustments at that time, but that's the process. So.
Our goal is to have it here for approval in the June meeting, but have a draft disseminated out to the group before that for review and input.
Right. Very good. And environmental, Raleigh Environmental Awards jury.
I believe they're presenting tomorrow at 6:30, 6:15 at the.
They're at Earth Day. Yes.
At Earth Day.
Yes.
But I think it's at 6:15 or 6:30.
Awesome. So they will so it'll be even more hoopla and celebration.
Yes, I think
because
they
it used to
start-
be separated.
Yeah, I think they started it last year, was the first year, to kind of boost that attendance and be celebratory. Yep.
Awesome. That should be very another reason to go to Dix Park. It's over by Flowers Field, kind of.
And there's a shred event too.
Huh?
There's a shred event.
Oh, yes. And I have e-batteries in my car that I was going to drive to the
I think
hinterlands.
that's from 5 to 7.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Yeah, so you can get rid of paper and batteries and...
You can just drive up and they'll take it out of the car, which is important for some of the seniors. I know I have a couple of people that I'm going to bring their things for them. So just getting the boxes and dropping them in the car and then just putting everything in so they don't have to worry about lifting them.
Awesome. Thank you for reminding us on that. And other than that, Historic Resources and Museum Advisory Board.
Their meeting was spring break, so I was not there.
Okay.
No report.
No report. And then Parks Bond Community Engagement Liaison Reports. I know that the Neuse River Park meeting is next Tuesday, the 30th at 5 o'clock. I forget where, but I'll be there. Huh? Oh, okay. Thank you. It is attached. And other than that, chair comments. The only real thing with the transition of leadership, I also thought that it was important to be thinking also tied to work plan about committees people want to be on. And so if you're not sure, how about if we ask Giovanna to send out the current committee, what she has on paper, and schedule for meeting. And that way, as we adopt our work plan, we can align our committee membership with the work plan items that people are interested in. And so, I'm happy to appoint you to whatever committee. It's not any kind of kingdom thing, but it is important that we have balance in our committees and that we have members in, a balanced membership so that work can get done. So.
And I was just going to add to that, if availability is one of the things that's keeping you off a committee, we're able to change those once a year or less frequently, but it's not going to change all the time, but we can change the time of the meeting. So if you want to be on a committee, doodle polls can go out and we can find a new time for the coming year.
Yeah, great. Thank you. That's a great point. So, so just be thinking about that, and because it really it will make your involvement on this board more meaningful. And that is it. I'm going to go around the table and see what board topics any topics or reports people have, and then call for adjournment.
Just on your last comment, is there a end time, or do we rotate? You said fiscal year was July for the committees?
We haven't historically, in my experience for 5 years on the board, it's by choice. It's what works in your schedule and your interest, and again, looking at what the topics are. It may be that one item goes to a different committee that you thought was maybe in the first committee or something. So there's definitely fluidity that's available, but we just want to not have it be a random process so that we can populate those committees.
Thank you.
About the Kyle Drive Community Advisory Group, I continue to be, it's currently referred to as, the park currently referred to as Kyle Drive. We do have 3 names, and I've thrown in a couple more. I don't know if they'll make the cut or not. But they're just a very impressive group of people. And it may be because I'm new. I've never been on a community advisory group before. But they just knock my socks off. I just think that the way they interact, the seriousness with which they take everything. There was childcare at the last meeting, and that childcare person was well occupied the whole time. It's just a really representative group of people, and I'm very impressed with the whole process. That's all.
Anybody else coming around here?
I think that somewhere we need to mention, I believe the Lake Wheeler Regatta is on the 26th and 27th of this month.
That is correct. I believe Giovanna emailed the group,
She said,
and we announced it last month. But 16 teams, yeah, big national presence.
18 schools all over
18.
the country
18.
moving out.
That's very cool. Anybody else? Anything else?
Marcia.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah, back to that.
Yes.
Back to that topic.
Yeah, so,
Forgiveness.
so one of the topics that we've talked about in the Sustainability, Wildlife, and Urban Trees Committee are lights and at night, and especially during seasons like now when the birds are migrating. But also other wildlife need dark nights. And so I noticed rarely have a reason to go over by Isabella Cannon Park, which is in my neighborhood, but I've had recently 2 different occasions to go over there, and I've been stunned with how brilliantly lit that small park is. I don't know why. I don't know if that's if the planning committee that came up with it had some reason for that to help people walk at night, or I don't know. But I think that it deserves to have some look-see about dimming those lights, putting in lights that are not so bright. It's like a shopping center.
Well, I think you struck on it. We have a community-based design process. So when we go through a master plan like you all are now, and then we advance design, we ask the community, do you want the park lit? So that would be the core reason.
And that's an interesting question related to master plans, because we're in a changing world. We've got climate issues. We've got ecological knowledge that we didn't have when, that park was built at least 15 years ago. And so how do we apply, and this is just, you don't really have to answer this, but I think it's a very important.
I can't across 10,000 acres.
A very important rhetorical question, and that is, how do we apply new knowledge to old plans? And how do we not be held we can't be held hostage, and we have to put a postscript on these things. So I, without being ugly, I mean to say that's not an okay answer.
Yeah, I would also say is, and I appreciate Marcia's request, is when she asked me, I can get a call from 20 neighbors like, what are you doing? I live across the street, and I don't like that park is dark. So there's a balance, especially from a public safety perspective.
Right.
The number one deterrent for public safety is lights.
Yeah. So I think the question is, are they the right lights, and how do we evaluate that? And that's not a question that we can examine, but it is something that we need to be mindful of, and as we go forward. So.
Well, it does seem to me to be a really important issue, and maybe one that the SWAT committee could look at, delve into a little bit more. And I just wanted to, I know it's been said a lot, but we have had some discussion about the time of when the SWAT committee meets, and that's been a problem for some people who would like to serve on it. And so we've started to talk about whether there's a new time. So if you're interested in serving, please tell us that, and we can try and find a time that works for everybody.
Great. That's very good. All right. Doug Johnson, anything, or? Okay.
I had the luxury to be on the arts committee for the Neuse River Park. We selected a phenomenal artist. His first name is Gabe. I forgot his last name, so please forgive me. But the art sculptures that with his previous work, it is amazing. And the things that he proposed to us, to the arts committee for the Neuse River Park, it's going to blow everybody's mind away. And the murals that he did with his previous work, he did a lot of murals in Durham County, downtown Durham, some here in Wake County as well. It's just amazing. And I also wanted to state that the city staff, Seth, Joel, and Matt, if you guys have not met them, please take the opportunity to go down to Forest Ridge Park and just, the most humble guys on the planet. They do a phenomenal job with managing that park, managing the Neuse River Greenway, and Seth and his team are going to do a phenomenal job. Right now at Forest Ridge Park, they have around 3.5 miles of mountain bike trails with 18-hole disc golf. I met with them literally yesterday, and they're planning to propose probably around 5 more miles of mountain bike trails that are total up to around 10 miles of mountain bike trails. And but with the Neuse River Park, with Seth, him and I agreed to making that a destination for, as you know, of course it's a regional greenway, regional park, but making it a destination for all people to come and have fun. So Seth is thinking about doing some unique things at the entryway, maybe putting up some food trucks and having some different unique things out there once the park gets developed. But I just want to say the artist is a phenomenal artist. Seth and his team, I tip my hat to them because them guys are doing a phenomenal job. And Joel was like, man, we try our best not to bug Steven and all the other, upper up staff, and he said they just do their best what they have going on at Forest Ridge Park. And like I said, when you guys get the time, go out there and check out what they're doing. They're doing a phenomenal job. So.
Yeah. I did a bird kayaking thing out there last year, and it was a blast. And staff was so knowledgeable and had everything anybody could need. So definitely.
They literally live at that park, so.
Cool. Thank you, Rashawn. Changwen?
Yes, not related to our schedule, but I do want to share something I saw along the Crabtree Trail. So the portion on the east part of the Raleigh Boulevard, there is a broad walk at entry running through the lake. So on the east side, there is a bloom of algae along the on the water surface. It could be a sign of the eutrophication. So I just want to bring this up to your attention and see if there's any available resource that we can use to control or clean up for the water surface. Because there are a lot of wildlife there and it's great ecosystem.
Yeah, if you email me where that's at, I'll send it to our stormwater department, because there could be a release someplace that's causing that algae. But if you send me exactly where it's at, we'll send stormwater out to look at it.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that is a cool place to go see herons and turtles and things. So, yeah, but not if it's algae. All right. Well, I think that's it from everybody. Anything else? And we will call this meeting adjourned.